Hey, I'm Circle Strafe, and today I'm going to talk to you about a little oddity of Liverpool in the United Kingdom. I'm going to talk to you about the labyrinth under the city. So, this guy here is Joseph Williamson. He was born in 1769 in Yorkshire, in England. He died in 1840 at the grand old age of 71. Now, Williamson was a highly eccentric businessman, and his activities and strange behaviour led to his nicknames either the Mole of Edge Hill or the Mad Mole. So before we go into a little bit of nitty-gritty about the crazy activities which earned him these nicknames, we're just going to go over a little bit about him and the times in which he lived. Williamson was the son of a Barnsley glassmaker, and through hard work and good luck, he amassed a small fortune on tobacco and snuff in 18th century Liverpool. He had no children or heirs to his fortune, and he married a wife who was about 35-ish. It's kind of unusual for someone to marry someone so old if they were so wealthy. And I say old as it was old at the time. From most accounts of the man, he was actually really quite mad. As an example of some of his more peculiar habits, Williamson would often invite businessmen over to feasts and serve them porridge and bread. The guests would get really insulted and a lot of them would leave. And anyone that kind of remained, Williamson would turn around to him and go, "You are my true friends." And then what he'd do is he'd bring out the feast that he actually planned to give everyone, so that he'd only give the feast to his friends. On one occasion, Williamson actually released all of the birds in his wife's aviary. Now, his wife was known to be hard as nails, mean as hell. Apparently, Williamson stated after he did this that he only wished that man had wings to be so liberated, which was probably in reference to his wife. Now, when a wealthy man in those days was ready to retire, what they'd do is they'd go into the countryside and they'd buy a bit of land and then they start building their nice big houses. And what Williamson did is he went to the Edge Hill area of Liverpool and started working on his retirement. And what he did as well is he carried on building some buildings on his land, which then he rented out to private tenants. The buildings were said to be very impractical in their design, in that they were all different and strange. Unfortunately, the land that Williamson bought was formerly used for quarrying, so to extend his new luxury homes out and have nice huge gardens, which were expected at the time, he had to start building some stone archways over the quarrying holes to keep things level, especially for the gardens. But strangely, for some reason, he just didn't stop there. Williamson's two nicknames, the Mad Mole and the Mole of Edge Hill, represent the next highly unusual part of his life. Between 1810 and 1840, Williamson decided to build perhaps the most strange and interesting historical feature of Liverpool: an underground labyrinth. The map that you can see here shows what's currently known of Williamson's unique tunnel system, devised by the man in his elderly years for no clear reason whatsoever. Williamson was really tight-lipped on the purpose of these tunnels, and no records exist to show why the tunnels were built. He didn't keep any records or diaries or anything about the whole situation. What we know for certain is that after the Napoleonic War ended, there was a lot of poor English soldiers that returned to Liverpool and found it difficult to find work. So Williamson employed them to carry on quarrying under his land for some bizarre reason. Just as another quick example of Williamson's crazed madness, he'd sometimes tell his workers to move the quarried stone from one place to another and then just tell them to move it back again. Anyway, the quarrying activity makes no sense if it was merely used as a philanthropic tool to keep the poor men in work. He actually sold the quarried sandstone to keep digging. There's tunnels within tunnels, which is really strange for quarrying. And then there's apparently no basic method to the actual layout of the overall network. It suggests that their purpose wasn't for obtaining the stone itself. So if we just take another look at the map, it's easy to see what I mean by this. So the chambers are various shapes and sizes, lengths, depths, some go underneath others. The tunnels go curiously close to places that existed in Liverpool at the time. You can see in the map that one of the tunnels approaches St Mary's Church at the top right. Also approaches things like pubs and other housing districts. However, Williamson would have been too rich to visit a lot of these places. He was of a social class which would have dictated him visiting wealthy cafes instead of pubs, for example. So if the tunnels were for personal use, and for example easier transport throughout the town, the where they go to doesn't actually make sense for the man that they were apparently built for. There's evidence of entrances and exits under his old buildings, and this has led to speculation that Williamson was perhaps a member of some extremist religious sect fearing the end of the world. In this scenario, the tunnels would have been a place for safety for him and his friends when the end came. There's other more personal reasons that the tunnels could have been constructed. As one example, it's possible Williamson was using the tunnels as a way to visit mistresses throughout town. He was a wealthy man married to an old woman with no children to inherit his fortune. Mistresses were probably flooding to him. Whatever the purpose, the tunnels remain a unique and really curious aspect of Liverpool. Over the years after their creation, they were used as a makeshift sewerage system. Lazy housekeepers would dig holes into the brick archways and then just fill the empty tunnels with excrement and other waste. After this, the local council started to utilise the labyrinth for industrial and residential landfill waste. In today's world, the tunnels exist as the subject of an intense archaeological excavation. One of the larger, more open tunnels is sometimes used for concerts as well. So there's a tunnel that's kind of exposed to the outside world, which the bands go inside, and I'm assuming it's good for acoustics. As Liverpool's expanded, Edge Hill's kind of been absorbed into the city, and the old rural land in Edge Hill is now industrialised. Buildings are being built and destroyed all the time throughout the city, and they sometimes take remnants of this crazy labyrinth with them. However, every now and again, more of the labyrinth seems to be uncovered, furthering the mystery of Liverpool's Mad Mole. Hey, thanks for watching this episode. If you've got any questions or if you want to know more, feel free to comment, like and subscribe if you want to watch some more videos. If you want to do some more reading on this subject, then I've put some source links in the description, so take a look at that. And I'll see you in the next episode. Toodles!